Hundreds flocked to pay tribute to Hela Governor. Unitech presents petition to Housing Minister. New Zealand provides content for Pacific broadcasters.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for Thursday's news. While city residents were asleep in the early hours of this morning, hundreds from Hela province flocked to the airport to farewell their governor, the late Anderson Agiru. Many were at the domestic terminal just after midnight, hoping to secure space on the chartered aircraft. Airport staff and security guards said it was a record to see such a large number of people at the airport. Vasinatayama reports.
This was the scene at the Jackson's domestic airport this morning. All corners were tightened with security guards, police and PNGDF soldiers. Unauthorized persons were not allowed to go into the terminal. Only a show of the tickets granted them access to the check-in area. Hours before the body of the late governor left for Southern Highlands province, some angry people began screaming and fighting for a chance to get on board the chartered plane. According to airport staffs, 12 planes were chartered, however 7 were cancelled for unknown reasons. 4 chartered planes left for Southern Highlands and Hela yesterday. 1, an Air Niugini Fokker 100, left this morning. After sorting out the boarding passes for those entitled to travel, the remainder were issued to the public. The late Agiru's body departed from the defense hangar at ATS. All Air Niugini flights to Southern Highlands and Hela were cancelled since yesterday and today, but will resume tomorrow. Those who could not travel became rowdy and were dispersed by police. Vasinatayama, National EMTV News.
After staging a successful public awareness yesterday, a 7-page petition calling for the Prime Minister to step aside was this afternoon presented to the Housing Minister, Paul Ezekiel, who received the document on behalf of the Prime Minister. The petition was signed by close to 3,000 students from the University of Technology. The petition highlights concerns about the economy, upholding the integrity of the Prime Minister's office, and in the final paragraphs calls for the Prime Minister to step aside within 48 hours.
The 7-page petition contains a list of various issues, but chief among them are concerns over the economy, particularly pressures on the foreign reserves and the impact it's having on businesses and potential employers of the 3,000 students who will eventually graduate in future. The point that stands out and continues to form the basis of the protests and the recent boycott referendum is the call for the Prime Minister to step aside and protect the integrity of the Prime Minister's office. The impromptu presentation today was made after the Prime Minister reportedly requested for the Minister to receive the petition on his behalf. A notable absence was the Morobe Governor, Kelly Naru, who had prepared to receive the petition yesterday but could not attend today due to other engagements. The Housing Minister said very little but promised that the petition would be delivered to the Prime Minister when he returns to Port Moresby.
Well, Prime Minister is quite aware of what's happening all around the country and as far as all the universities are concerned. So I think he will have a look at it and I'm sure he will respond accordingly.
While a small chapter may have come to a close, student leaders have stressed to the Minister that the deadline remains fixed at 48 hours for the Prime Minister to step aside.
40 hours was given to the Prime Minister to respond to what we have stated in our terms. We've got next plan to come out with.
A few days ago, more than 2,000 students voted for a boycott. Yesterday, they staged a successful trouble-free awareness campaign at Eriku with assistance from police. Now, while at Unitech, progress has moved from referendum to boycott to now the presentation of the petition, UPNG has been struggling to get a sympathetic ear from the Electoral Commission and the University Administration. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lae.
Lae residents have praised police for allowing the Unitech awareness meeting yesterday. Lae Metropolitan Commander Chief Superintendent Anthony Wagambi said the key has been dialogue with students and community leaders. Lae Police also commended the students and the general public for their conduct.
All business houses within the city operated as normal. Bus services were not disrupted while primary and secondary school students were allowed to attend classes.
I am so happy with our police superintendent here.
Lae Metropolitan Commander Chief Superintendent Anthony Wagambi said police coordinated well with the SRC president, the organizing committee chairman, and the student leaders of Unitech so that all activities of the day took place.
And had a meeting with the SRC president and the organizing committee, and we gave them a little rundown on the consequences of coming out on last Wednesday when police were not prepared.
Students were escorted down in busloads from Unitech to Erico under police escort. Police were positioned in all parts of the city to monitor opportunists. Wagambi commended both the student body and his officers for obeying instructions. This is not the first time Lae police have successfully controlled a large crowd. Last year, they were also commended for controlling a protest by Moravian youths over street vending. They have also learned that communication and minimal force are vital tools needed to control a large number of people. Mata Luis, National MTV News, Lae.
Students from the University of Goroka and Divine Word University have given their support to UPNG students. Their student representatives flew to Port Moresby yesterday to show their support. They are pushing for the UPNG students to hold a referendum to determine their course of action in the unrest. MTV understands the UPNG SRC met with the Electoral Commission today. Both parties have yet to release statements on the content of that meeting. Lae Chamber of Commerce President Alan McLay has spoken out for Lae businesses affected by the lack of foreign currency circulating in the economy. Mr. McLay has pointed out that the problem will cause more manufacturing companies to lay off workers or even shut down if the foreign currency problem isn't addressed by the national government. Bethany Harriman with this report.
It's been almost a year now and the lack of foreign currency in reserves is taking a toll on businesses operating in Lae. Today, the Lae Chamber of Commerce President Alan McLay urged the national government to take action before Lae manufacturing companies start to lay off workers or even shut down operations.
They can't afford to lose the manufacturers and they can't afford to stop all the imported goods. All imported goods, as I've mentioned, are not bad for the PNG economy.
While there is confidence in the national government's ability to manage the foreign reserves crisis amongst Lae businesses, something needs to be done quickly because companies are already operating on credit.
They have built up a very good relationship with suppliers because of their on-time payment in the past, and so overseas suppliers have let them probably extend the terms of repayment. But you can't do that all the time.
On the 1st of this month, KK Kingston CEO Michael Kingston pleaded with the national government to fix the problem.
But most importantly, it'll allow business to continue as normal. And right now, it's like trying to run through honey. It's nearly impossible because you just can't get the money to pay your suppliers. So I plead with the government. We have to do something about this foreign exchange crisis.
The Lae Chamber of Commerce main concerns are manufacturing companies like KK Kingston that started in the early 70s. These businesses are producing goods on shore and providing employment for Papua New Guineans.
The national government's approach towards dealing with the foreign currency problem happened in March through the central bank holding discussions with the International Financial Corporation and the World Bank on a temporary facility of $250 million to ease the backlog of foreign currency. International think tanks as well as Papua New Guinean think tanks have been very optimistic about the national government dealing with the foreign currency issue. They say the national government can adjust national budgets and the fiscal policies. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Lae.
An initiative of the New Zealand government to support Pacific free-to-air broadcasters was launched yesterday evening. The agreement through Pacifica TV distributes New Zealand content for free-to-air rebroadcasting in the Pacific region. This initiative also seeks to strengthen the country's relationships within the region. Hela Governor with more.
Seeking to promote New Zealand's culture, identity and values and strengthening relationships in the Pacific, this initiative will see New Zealand through Pacifica TV share content with Pacific free-to-air broadcasters as well as developing broadcasting capabilities through various training. Exciting news for free-to-air TV and radio broadcasters. Support received through the agreement will see tremendous development in local broadcasting. This includes supply of testing and production equipment, on-site technical training, and a New Zealand-based media internship program. In terms of content sharing, content will be gathered in New Zealand and distributed via satellite to Papua New Guinea among many other Pacific Island nations, including the Solomon Islands, Cook Islands, Niue, Tonga, Fiji, Vanuatu, and Samoa. Broadcasters will acquire sports, factual, general entertainment, news and current affairs content at zero cost. In addition to sending New Zealand content, the service will be used as a platform to rebroadcast local Pacific content to enhance Pacific regionalism.
And I remember I was here about 8 or 9 months ago talking about how marvellous it would be, and we're going to work really hard to get everything up and running. And today I come back, we have 22 broadcasters in 11 countries all receiving our service, which is really good.
Building ties with Papua New Guinea, the initiative will uphold New Zealand businesses in PNG, promoting New Zealand-produced goods and services and providing employment opportunity for Papua New Guineans.
That will, but this is a great opportunity to bring together broadcasters from PNG together with New Zealand business. And a lot of those New Zealand business people are here tonight.
TV New Zealand has been operating a Pacific satellite service, providing a minimum of 11 hours of New Zealand content weekly. Hours have been increased as of late February and now delivering 6 to 8 hours daily. The initiative was announced in September 2015 by New Zealand Prime Minister John Key and launched yesterday evening by High Commissioner Tony Fautua. Hela Governor, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Nurses are the first people you see when you get ill and go to the hospital and clinics. Their roles are important because they determine how sick you are, what medication you should take, and if you need to see a doctor or not. The Medang nurses celebrated the International Nurses Day today at the Bates Oval. Joined by maritime students, they marched from the Modilon General Hospital all the way to Bates Oval in town. Various stalls were set up where the nurses conducted awareness and even performed dramas for the public to point out what they go through, what they need to do their jobs, and in the struggles they face in line with the theme Improving Health Systems Resilience. Speaking to the nurses, most admitted that they've been going through a lot in suffering in silence while serving the government during their time as nurses. 8 of the 13 PNGDF soldiers charged for mutiny have a case to answer to. This follows the verdict handed down by Justice Penuel Mogish following the no-case submissions presented by lawyers representing the 13 accused. The decision was handed down this morning at the Bomana District Court.
All 13 soldiers were present in court for the handing down of the judgment. Their 21-day trial began last Monday and is now into the second week. Presiding Judge Justice Panuel Mogis handed down the judgment based on evidences presented in court on each accused. The 8 soldiers who have cases to answer to all 4 counts include Major Benjamin Edimani, Warrant Officer Scotty Cowley, and Corporal Peter Perari. Private Philip Kiak is the only accused that has only 2 cases to answer to.
It's an application of no case to answer. There is a procedure within the criminal justice process that basically is an opportunity for accused persons to talk to the judge through submission. And basically the crux of that submission is that there is no case to answer. That on the evidence of the state so far, there is no evidence that establishes relevant elements of the offense.
The 13 PNGDF soldiers were arrested and charged for mutiny and misconduct last December after they failed to abort an operation in Hela Southern Islands following directions from their commander. Last week, the misconduct charges were withdrawn by the Bomana District Court after Judge Mogis ruled that the same sets of facts cannot be used to charge the soldiers on the 2 different charges. The 13 justified their refusal to follow the command because they were not given their allowance for that operation.
It was for them to withdraw, but they did not withdraw. So that's the only area where they say that it's disobedience. But the circumstances surrounding that disobedience is what will be done in the next part of after the ruling, which we'll be doing now. We'll be calling evidence, our defense clients. We called in the major himself, and if need be any other accused to come and explain the circumstances surrounding that disobedience.
This means the 21-day trial will continue. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Concerns over unemployment, loss of business and incomplete projects are worrying the Manus Provincial Administration after the Supreme Court ruled that the detention of asylum seekers on the island is illegal. The administration is very concerned that hundreds of locals employed at the Australian Round Processing Centre will become unemployed. Provincial Administrator Andrew Posong says they are hoping for both PNG and Australian governments to provide a good alternative after the centre is shut. Quinton Alom reports.
The Supreme Court ruling last month on the detention of asylum seekers as unconstitutional and illegal has taken headlines internationally. And in the host province, Manus, the decision has put them in a state of uncertainty. Since the establishment of the processing centre in 2014, the Australian government has approved several major infrastructure projects for the province. This includes the new state-of-the-art market building that cost 7.2 million kina. In addition, the square road around the market was sealed and the Momote to Lorenga Road redevelopment is currently under construction. The project cost over 35 million kina from the initial 51 million kina funding the Australian government gave in relation to the processing centre. More than 100 locals were employed in the processing facility. But the Supreme Court ruling last week is now a worry for the provincial administration.
We definitely is going to be affected. I think it's going to be affected in 3 main areas. One is the employment. Okay, the second bit is the business houses. Since the establishment of the project, business houses has gone into a contract, either a direct contract or as a sublet contract.
Some local businessmen had obtained loans to expand their businesses, and the administration is concerned that when the centre shuts down, the business will be affected, unemployment will increase, and the crime rate is likely to climb.
And once it goes, definitely our opportunity for money that our guys have been engaged, our young people have been engaged to actually get money, definitely will go away.
Administrator Posong says the biggest uncertainty is whether Australia will continue the construction of the Momote to Lorenga Road if the detention facility is shut down.
So if it comes to an end, what will the Australians say? Will they say, okay, cut him work now, not enough. That is our biggest worry because the project is not complete yet.
Quinten Alom, National EMTV News.
Leh District Education Authority has revealed it was not given proper guidelines and directions on how the 30% TFF infrastructure component should be distributed. Since the policy was introduced and made known in January, Leh District Education says it has not been told of the change in policy.
According to the Leh District Education Manager, there has been no proper consultation between the Education Department and District Education offices as to how the 30% of TFF funds should be utilized for infrastructure projects. Mr. Kaumu says that since government changed policies to direct a third of TFF funds to district accounts, his district has not been given clear directions on how the money should be used. In 2016, no infrastructure-related TFF payments have been made to the district's account as yet, and with no proper consultation of when the funds will be paid.
When will the money be paid into the district? That's a question because my district, as a first district in Morobe, we have formed the committee, but we are still waiting for the money to come. So that
Leh is one of 9 districts in Morobe with 92 elementary to vocational schools, and new infrastructure is in need at most of the schools being visited. Though a TFF committee has been formed in Leh to look into these concerns, little has been done as the committee awaits further consultations from the Education Department on disbursement of the infrastructure funds.
there is no guidelines, there is no policy, and yet the money is not deposited in. And another reason is that when the money is deposited to the district, how do I know? Because I have 90 plus schools, elementary to primary, secondary, and technical vocational. And how do I know that this amount of money is for this school?
The 30% infrastructure component of TFF funds is needed for the construction of classrooms that cater to the increase in student enrollments brought about by the free education policy. Now, in urban areas like Leh, where school buildings are required to meet certain building board standards, infrastructure funds are a priority. What the Leh District Education Authority is experiencing is what's faced at the school levels as more struggles for infrastructure continue. Colin Barilai, National EMTV News, Leh.
The Catholic Church in the country has requested the government for tougher legislation on land compensation. Archbishop of Mount Hagen Archdiocese, Bishop Douglas Young, made this request during Fatima's Golden Jubilee celebrations yesterday. He said land compensation was a major problem faced by church agency schools in the diocese and nationwide.
Challenges facing the Catholic education system were highlighted by Mount Hagen Archbishop Douglas Young in Fatima, Jiwaka province yesterday. The Archbishop was the main celebrant at the closing Mass of Fatima's 60 years celebrations. The Mass ended the 3-day celebrations. Former students of Fatima who were part of the celebrations included North Wagi member and Defense Minister Dr. Fabian Pork, Jiwaka Provincial Administrator Michael Wandil, his deputy Joseph Karap, and other distinguished guests. Archbishop Young, during his speech, said the church had ambitious plans to develop Catholic agency schools like Fatima. However, land compensation claims was a major obstacle.
Long Parliament yet, you will try long solving this problem long compensation claim. Now this problem long land claims.
He requested for tougher legislation to minimize land compensation demands.
Passing road long Fatima, Holy Passing Gate long Notre Dame, long putting pressure long or decision maker, long road long punish him or get an innocent line, or get a student now or get a young people marry long Notre Dame also. So please, you are long top level, you must solve him. Long people know enough long solving. So I need him some strong legislation, some strong policy, some strong talk clear. Yes, but you can kiss him, now but you kiss him inside long one moon, or no God, you no can kiss him, so must be wasting time instead of leading people on. month after month, year after year.
He said for long, provincial education boards have not respected this system when approval is not given by church agencies in staff appointments and student selections.
Protecting rights na identity long orgada agency. Minister talk long Christian principles. Mipla tui proud long this pla. That's all. Suppose mipla like holding fast all this pla values long Catholic education. Na mipla like strong in Christian principles long Fadaman orgada school inside long Catholic education system. Mipla masi got control long appointments na selections. Suppose people are losing control long appointments and selections, identity blom people go out, na all these values, only like him Catholic education system long end, and two by go out.
In order to address this situation, the diocese has proposed for Jiwaka and Western Highlands education boards to sign an agreement with the church.
We like by this unified system we can stop. Now you be behind him through Education Act. So people have been proposing one MOA. You go along PEB belong Western Highlands, now PEB belong Jiwaka.
Michelle Amba, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
The Catholic Church has plans to bring Divine Word University's distance learning to Fatima, Jiwaka Province. Archbishop Douglas Young said the Mount Hagen Archdiocese has started talks with the university to expand its reach to the highlands. However, he said government funding was the main hindrance to this development.
Long Divine Word, or same administrator talk. Yes, people talked of one time Divine Word. Long put in one matriculation center or distance education or online education. Number one obstacle on this plan now, government is not got money.
And now a look at the finance news. The Kina opened unchanged at $0.3165 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.3090 US, $0.4165 Australian dollars, $0.2675 euro and 33.27 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, cocoa and copra closed lower, while coffee closed the day higher. Palm oil closed higher, while crude oil and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 217 points lower, the ASX closed 21 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed 19 points lower. National MTV News continues with stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Welcome back to National MTV News. Overseas now, and ISIS has taken aim at the Iraqi capital. A series of bombings killed at least 93 people in Baghdad, and Iraqis want to know why their government cannot protect them.
It was the bloodiest single day in Baghdad in months. Here, the smoke still rising, moments after a suicide attack on a checkpoint killed 12. Earlier, the deadliest strike of the day, more than 60 killed at a busy market in a Shiite neighborhood. Blood soaking the pavement, cars reduced to smoldering hulks. ISIS quickly claimed responsibility for the bloodshed. The attack sparked renewed anger from Iraqis already deeply distrustful of their government. Today's violence coming just days after angry crowds stormed government headquarters inside the capital's heavily fortified green zone, protesting corruption.
Many people were killed, and you can see blood everywhere. There were poor people who were here to earn a living. Why did this happen? Can this corrupt government tell us why? The people are dying because of this government.
Today, the White House blamed the ongoing political struggle in the deeply divided Iraqi government for undermining Iraqi efforts to fight ISIS.
The United States government has been of the strongly held view that the Iraqi government is more likely to be successful in securing the country if they can succeed in uniting that country to face down the threat. That's what Prime Minister Abadi has tried to do.
The attacks come as the terror group has suffered devastating losses on the battlefield. U.S. coalition and Iraqi security forces have driven ISIS out of more than 40% of its territory, including once important power centers in Ramadi and Heat. The result, says the U.S. military, is an ISIS that is less capable of large-scale operations on the battlefield.
It's much smaller groups really attempting to, in my mind, stay relevant and to put pressure really to try to fix the Iraqi security forces from continuing to move.
To the U.S., and Donald Trump has repeatedly slammed China on the campaign trail, but his message appears to be resonating for some in the country. His tough talk has certainly earned him some fans.
We can't continue to allow China to rape our country, and that's what they're doing. It's the greatest theft in the history of the world.
Tough talk about trade from the Republican presumptive nominee against one of his top targets. Yet here in China, there is respect and even admiration for Donald Trump.
I think Donald Trump had got the guts to say everything that normal people in the Western society feared to say.
Gu Yu is a young Chinese tech entrepreneur, part of a vocal group of Chinese fans of the billionaire businessman. One social media user on China's Twitter equivalent, Weibo, says Hillary Clinton just makes empty promises, while Trump is the king of doing what he says. Another calls him sharp and pragmatic. One person even said they'd vote for him because he is so handsome. A face Chinese audiences got to know from his days on Celebrity Apprentice, a hit here in China.
You're fired.
From TV to books, Trump's bestseller, The Art of the Deal in Mandarin, is found in bookstores across Beijing. His success as a businessman is no doubt part of his appeal as a politician. Some Chinese see a rich billionaire and want to be just like him. Like the owner of Trump Consulting, a Chinese real estate firm named after the candidate himself. The irony? The owner tells CNN, Donald Trump is a political clown, but I wouldn't change my company name for that. He's a real estate tycoon, after all. His feelings on Trump the politician shared by the media here. In March, the state-run newspaper, the Global Times, called Trump a rich narcissist and a clown for statements like this.
Negotiating with China. When these people walk in the room, they don't say, oh, hello, how's the weather? It's so beautiful outside. They say, we want deal.
Even with all the bluster, Trump Tower is still a popular destination for tourists from mainland China and Taiwan visiting New York City.
He's like a superstar, you know.
Everybody like Trump. Yeah, so I come to see that. I wish that Trump would win.
Still, not everyone is a fan.
If he becomes the president, I have a little bit scared.
The Chinese, just like many Americans, with no shortage of opinions on Donald Trump.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. Stay with us for the details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with football, and only 2 weeks remain until the start of the OFC Nations Cup, and preparations and planning are already being put in place. OFC Competitions Director Chris Kemp has said that the tournament will provide the perfect avenue for Pacific nations to prove themselves capable of performing at higher international competition.
The nations participating in the OFC region have a unique brand of football that incorporates energy and speed. The competition's director, Chris Kemp, has said that the Nations Cup will provide an avenue for the participating countries to showcase that style to the rest of the world. The Nations Cup is slated to commence on Saturday, the 28th of May, with Papua New Guinea playing the next day.
We have 2 games per day, and that Team Kenya will get entry for both of those games, or 30 in the main grandstand.
What are the kickoff times?
Kickoff times are 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. So there's around 8 match days. The first match day is the 28th, and PNG's first match day is the 29th of May.
When asked about the importance of the Nations Cup as a single tournament and serving as a World Cup qualifier, Kemp stated the prize on offer was more than silverware, but an opportunity for progress to higher competitions in the game.
It's really important. I mean, the teams really, there's an immense amount of pride in being Oceania champion, which is what they're playing for, and they only get an opportunity every 4 years. So it does mean an awful lot to the players. And then the other advantage is that the winner of the Nations Cup then goes to represent Oceania at the FIFA Confederations Cup.
Kemp believes that football in the Pacific is slowly closing the gap against other international teams.
I think that gap is closing overall. I mean, you only need to look at Fiji's performance in the Under-20 World Cup, and they've now qualified to go to Brazil for the Olympics. New Zealand women's team is doing very well on the women's stage. And I think, you know, there's other forms of the game too, which Oceania performs incredibly well at. The Solomon Islands Kurukuru doing well in futsal and qualifying for the World Cup this year, and also the Tahiti beach soccer team, Tiki Toa. They came second in the beach soccer World Cup last year. So, you know, we're in our region, the forms of the game are really, really improving.
With world-class facilities in the country, the opportunity for hosting further major international football tournaments like the Nations Cup are looking promising. Jeremy Moggy, National, EMTV Sports.
With months counting down to the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup, the government has injected 20 million kina to complete all infrastructure. 10 million kina of that money will go towards the completion of the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium. Sports Minister Justin Chichenko said the money was sourced from the remaining budget of the 2015 Pacific Games. Shane Saroya has more.
The government, through the Sports Ministry, has released 20 million kina to the PNG Sports Foundation for the infrastructural maintenance and development. Sports Minister Justin Chichenko says the funding came from the remaining budget from the 2015 Pacific Games.
Government has released, Finance has released to the PNG Sports Foundation 20 million kina. 20 million kina for the FIFA World Cup. This money is actual savings from the Pacific Games from 2015. And I'm grateful to the chairman and PGA for managing the funds so well that we were able to have over 54 million savings from the Pacific Games from last year.
The prime venue, Sir Hubert Murray Stadium, has come under heavy scrutiny on the delay in construction work to meet FIFA's deadline. However, on top of the 20 million kina, the Sports Ministry, through PNG Sports Foundation, has committed 10 million kina to construction company Curtin Brothers for the completion of the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium.
A lot of the work that is happening at Hubert Murray Stadium is done at Motor Kia, which is all the precasting concrete slabs, the structural work and all the rest, and then that will be shipped out and carted out and transported out from Motor Kia to Hubert Murray Stadium, where they'll have the stadium built quite quickly.
Apart from Sir Hubert Murray Stadium, 2 mini football stadiums with 5,000 seating capacity and 15 ovals that will also be upgraded to FIFA compliances in the next 3 to 4 months. Elijah Levet, National, EMTV Sports.
The government of West New Britain has been given 5 million kina from the national government's remaining budget from the 2015 Pacific Games to assist with the PNG Games building and infrastructure development. Sports Minister Justin Chichenko, in an interview, says the national government, in its 2016 budget allocation, has allocated another 5 million kina for administration and operations.
5 million kina given from the savings of the Pacific Games to the PNG Games Committee in West New Britain. That's been given, and in our 2016 budget there's another 5 million kina for administration and operations and more infrastructure. So a total government commitment to West New Britain is 10 million kina, and we all work in West New Britain is going along very well. And we look forward to going to West New Britain in the coming months to assess the progress of all their work. And I'll personally make a tour myself after Parliament in May to assess work that is going on down there.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Just a day away from the Capital Rugby Union Grand Final, and both teams, University and Defence, are excited to face off at the Sir John Guy's Stadium. Several other finals will be played throughout the day before University Piggies will meet Defence for the main game at 3 p.m.
Teams playing in the Grand Final include Defence versus University for Premier Division. For the Under-19, Valley Hunters versus Harlequins, and the A Reserve has University meeting Harlequins. For the Women's Division, Spartans face off Harlequins. The main game in the afternoon, the ultimate clash between Defence and University. After an intense game last weekend during the semis with yet another Defence team, University won by a nerve-wracking 26-25. Defence is also prepared and looking forward to the Grand Final. Qualifying for the Grand Finals was not easy for them either, as they defeated Brothers last week 12-6. Hubert Murray Stadium is expected to come alive as supporters flock to the stadium for the game. Dinero Strico, National EMTV Sports.
The Western Kentucky basketball team, the Hilltoppers, recently signed PNG international basketballer Marty Lay for the 2016 and 17 seasons. Marty Lay represented Papua New Guinea during the 2015 Pacific Games, playing for the men's basketball team. His signing was announced this week by coach Richard Stansbury.
He was a member of the Under-20 Queensland basketball squad and the Under-21 Ipswich Force team, where he averaged 18, 9 and 4 per game. He was known during the Pacific Games as a three-point specialist and was vice-captain of the team, who finished 4th at the tournament. Lay is 18 years old, stands at 195 centimeters tall, and is a versatile forward who currently resides in Brisbane, Australia. Hilltoppers coach Richard Stansbury says he brings great experience, size and strength, and knows how to play the game. Lay will join the Hilltoppers later this year and is excited of his new school, team and city after his official visit last month. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
A drone racing competition was held in England recently. Teams of 4 raced drones around a course complete with obstacles and tight curves. The pilots, wearing headsets, were treated to a drone's eye view of the race with a live feed linked between the cameras in their drones and their headsets. Spectators could also get a slice of the action as monitors were set up by the course and headsets could be tuned into the team's frequencies. The drones, which can exceed speeds of 60 miles per hour, were raced in pairs in 10-minute heats with points awarded for flying through obstacles. The sport appears to be increasing in popularity. Elsewhere, high-profile races like the inaugural World Drone Prix held last March in Dubai has taken the sport to a whole new level. And that ends Trukai Sports. We'll have further weather details for the next 24 hours when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Port Moresby, Daru, Kerma, Alotau and Popondetta, fine weather for Friday. To the Momasa region, a shower or two in Lae, Wau, Medang, Wewak and some showers in Vanimore. To the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine in Kavieng. The rest of the region, you can expect a shower or two. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, fine weather over the next 24 hours, but expect some morning fog. Before we go, recapping our main stories for tonight. Hundreds flocked to pay tribute to Hela Governor, the late Anderson Aigiru. Unitech presents petition to Housing Minister Paul Ezekiel. And New Zealand provides content for Pacific broadcasters. And that's the news, sports and weather for tonight, Thursday, the 12th of May 2016. On behalf of the EMTV News team, I'm Mera Batulo. Pleasant viewing. Good night.